The sky was still dark when Darnell woke up. His hands were already sore from the day before, but he didn't complain. He never did. That's just how life was. Darnell lived with his mother in a small, run-down house on the edge of town. Every morning, he left early to get to the garage before anyone else. He liked the silence of the shop, the smell of oil, the hum of old engines, and the way machines trusted him even when people didn't. Darnell was a young black man with grease always under his fingernails and kindness in his eyes. He didn't talk much, but when he did, people listened. He had a gift with engines. He could fix anything. But still, he stayed in the shadows, never trying to get attention. He worked harder than most, but his name wasn't on the shop sign. It didn't matter. He just wanted to help his mother pay the bills and save enough for his own garage one day. That morning was like any other until the sound of a deep, growling engine shook the quiet shop. Heads turned. The front door creaked open and in rolled a massive chrome motorcycle, scarred from years of rough rides. Sitting on it was a man with a leather jacket patched with flames and skulls. The patch on his back read Hell's Angels. Everyone froze. Nobody said a word. The man parked the bike, swung off slowly, and looked around. His beard was long, his eyes sharp, and his arms covered in tattoos. He didn't look friendly. The shop owner, a nervous man named Rick, stepped forward but quickly hesitated. He looked at the gang symbol and stepped back. "I need someone who knows bikes," the biker growled. "This baby won't start after a long ride." Rick glanced around, hoping someone else would speak. No one moved. Not a single mechanic dared step forward. Except Darnell. Darnell wiped his hands on a rag and walked toward the man. He wasn't scared. He wasn't impressed either. To him, it was just a bike, a machine in pain needing help. "I can take a look," he said calmly. The biker stared at him. Long, cold. Some of the others in the shop watched, worried something bad would happen. But the biker stepped aside. "Go ahead." Darnell crouched beside the bike, his fingers feeling the engine like a doctor checking a heartbeat. He didn't speak. He just worked. His mind raced with possible reasons for the failure. The biker stood behind him, watching closely but saying nothing. 10 minutes passed. Darnell found a loose wire near the ignition coil. He tightened it gently, tested the battery, and adjusted a few things that had clearly been messed up by someone who didn't know what they were doing. "Try it now," he said, stepping back. The biker sat down, pressed the starter button, and the bike roared to life like a lion waking up. The deep growl of the engine filled the garage. Everyone looked stunned. The biker blinked, then slowly nodded. "That's it," he said. "She's back." Darnell gave a small smile and turned to grab his rag, ready to wipe the grease from his hands. The biker reached into his jacket, pulled out a thick wad of cash, and handed over a few bills. "This is for you. You saved my ride," he said. But before Darnell could take the money, Rick, the shop owner, stormed over. "What's going on here?" Rick barked. "He fixed my bike," the biker replied, confused. Rick looked at Darnell with sharp eyes. "You worked on a customer without telling me?" Darnell looked up. "No one else wanted to touch it. I was just helping." Rick's face turned red. "You don't get to make that call, Darnell. Step into my office." Darnell paused, wiped his hands slowly, and followed. Behind the closed door, voices rose. Rick shouted things like, "You don't run this shop. And you scared off the others by working with them." 10 minutes later, Darnell walked out. His face was calm. His eyes were tired. He walked past the biker and the staff, carrying his small toolbox. "You're leaving?" the biker asked. "I got fired," Darnell replied simply. The shop was silent. No one said a word. Outside, the sun had finally risen, but the day didn't feel bright. Darnell walked home, hands still stained with grease, just like always. But something inside him had changed, and back inside the garage, the biker stood quietly, staring at the door Darnell had just walked out of. His jaw tightened, his eyes narrowed. This wasn't the end. Not for Darnell. Not by a long shot. Darnell didn't go straight home after being fired. He walked around the block, thinking. The cool morning air brushed against his face, but he didn't feel it. His mind was stuck on what just happened. All he did was fix a bike. He didn't ask for trouble. He didn't break anything. But still, he was sent away like he did something wrong. He passed the corner store and nodded at the old man sitting outside. "You off today?" the man asked. Darnell just smiled faintly and kept walking. He didn't want to explain. He didn't want pity. He just wanted to breathe. Back at home, his mother was folding laundry in the living room. She looked up when he came in. "You're back early," she said. Darnell nodded and placed his toolbox quietly near the door. "Slow day," he mumbled, heading to his room. His mother looked concerned but didn't press him. She had seen that look before, the one that said, "Don't ask yet." Inside his room, Darnell sat on the edge of the bed. He stared at his hands. They were always dirty with engine grease, but today they felt heavier, like they carried more than just oil. He thought about that biker, how he didn't care about Darnell's skin, didn't treat him like trouble. All he cared about was whether the bike worked. And Darnell had made it work. Somewhere deep inside, Darnell felt a flicker of pride. Small, but strong. Meanwhile, back at the garage, the shop felt strange. The workers talked in hushed voices. Some of them didn't agree with what Rick did. Darnell had saved them from a lot of trouble. If that biker had gotten angry, things could have turned ugly. But instead, Darnell solved it with calm and skill. The biker, Hawk, as they called him, was still standing in the parking lot. He watched Darnell walk away. Then he turned to Rick. "You let go of the only one with guts," Hawk said flatly. Rick crossed his arms. "I run this shop. He disobeyed me." Hawk stepped closer, his voice low but cold. "No, he fixed what none of your boys could. I came here for help. He gave it. You pushed him out like trash." Rick looked uneasy. Hawk's eyes were sharp. "I don't forget people like that," Hawk added, then walked away. His gang was already revving up their bikes. The sound of engines filled the air as they rode off. But Hawk wasn't done. That night, Darnell sat on the porch, sipping water and watching the street. He still hadn't told his mom the truth. She brought him a plate of dinner and sat beside him. "You sure everything's all right, baby?" she asked. Darnell hesitated. Then he nodded slowly. "Yeah, I'll figure it out." Before she could say more, headlights appeared at the end of the street. Not one, but 3 motorcycles riding slow and steady. They stopped right in front of the house. Darnell stood up quickly. His mom's eyes widened. From the middle bike, Hawk stepped off. He wasn't wearing his gang jacket now, just a plain shirt and jeans. He walked up to the porch, calm and steady. "Evening, ma'am," he said respectfully to Darnell's mother. She nodded, confused but not frightened. Hawk turned to Darnell. "Didn't sit right with me. What happened earlier?" Darnell didn't say anything. "You didn't judge me," Hawk continued. "You didn't hesitate. You did your job. You gave me respect." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the same cash from earlier, untouched. "This is still yours. And I've got something else for you." Darnell looked at the cash but didn't move. "I didn't do it for money," he said quietly. "I know," Hawk replied. "That's why I came back." He pulled out a card. It was black with silver letters that read, "Iron Brotherhood Customs, a private motorcycle shop known in certain circles for building custom bikes. Expensive ones. We could use hands like yours," Hawk said. "Men who don't run. Men who know machines." Darnell blinked, unsure what to say. "Think about it," Hawk said, placing the card on the porch rail. "We meet every weekend at our warehouse. You show up, we'll talk." He nodded at Darnell's mother. "You raised him good, ma'am." Then he turned, got on his bike, and rode off into the night. Engines rumbling like thunder. Darnell picked up the card, stared at it for a long time. Something told him, this was not the end. This was the beginning of something bigger. The next morning, Darnell woke up early, just like always. His body was used to the rhythm, rise with the sun, eat quick, and be at the shop before the others. But today, he didn't have anywhere to go. No job, no routine. Just silence. He sat at the kitchen table, staring at his hands again. Still stained with grease. Still aching to fix something. His mother placed a cup of tea in front of him and sat down. "You gonna call them?" she asked softly, nodding toward the black card on the table, the one Hawk had given him last night. "I don't know," Darnell said quietly. His mother looked at him for a moment. "You helped that man when no one else would, and he came back. That means something." Darnell didn't answer. He was still thinking about how Rick, the shop owner, had looked at him yesterday, like he wasn't worth the risk. Like his help wasn't help at all. Like his skin made his skills dangerous. He thought about all the times he stayed late to finish jobs, or came in early to clean up the tools, or fixed engines that other mechanics gave up on. Not once did Rick say thank you. But the moment Darnell did something bold, something honest, he was punished. And not one person in that garage had spoken up for him. It didn't feel fair. Later that day, Darnell walked past the garage out of habit. He kept his distance, staying on the other side of the street. But he noticed something strange. The front of the shop was quiet. No bikes, no customers. Just Rick, standing by the window with a tense look on his face. Darnell didn't stop walking. But part of him felt like Rick had already realized the mistake he made. Firing Darnell had caused more trouble than Rick expected. Meanwhile, inside the shop, the workers were whispering, "You hear who that guy was? Hell's Angels don't forget stuff like that. Rick messed up. That boy saved us." Rick overheard the whispers and shouted, "You all want to work here or not?" The garage fell silent again, but Rick couldn't stop thinking about the biker, the way Hawk had stared at him, cold and serious. That gang didn't play games. And now Rick had kicked out the one guy who kept things calm. Still, pride wouldn't let him apologize. So instead, he pretended nothing happened. Business as usual. But business didn't come back. A few days passed. Darnell stayed home, helping his mother around the house, fixing things that had been broken for years. But deep inside, his hands missed the sound of tools and engines. He didn't just fix machines, he understood them. That feeling was missing. On the fourth day, while checking the oil in his neighbor's old truck, a shadow fell across the ground. It was Hawk again. Darnell stood up slowly, wiping his hands on a towel. Hawk didn't say much at first. He just watched the truck engine and nodded. "Still got the touch, I see." Darnell gave a small smile, trying to stay useful. Hawk reached into his pocket and handed over a folded paper. "We're having a ride this weekend. Meet the crew, no pressure. Just come see." Darnell unfolded the paper. It had an address and a time. He looked up. "Why me?" Hawk's face turned serious. "Because in that shop, full of scared men, you were the only one who stood up. You saw me as a customer, not a label. We don't forget respect like that." Darnell stayed quiet. "Come or don't," Hawk said, turning to leave. "But if you do, bring those hands. We've got bikes that need magic." That night, Darnell sat on his bed, holding the paper and the card. His mother came in with laundry and saw the look in his eyes. "You gonna go?" she asked. Darnell looked at her. "I think I have to." She smiled. "Then go. But go as yourself. Don't change for anyone." Saturday arrived. Darnell stood outside the warehouse listed on the paper. Loud music played inside. The smell of fuel and metal filled the air. Dozens of motorcycles lined the parking lot, shiny, custom, powerful. He took a deep breath and stepped in. The room fell silent for a moment. Then one biker stepped forward. Then another. Then Hawk. Hawk clapped a hand on Darnell's shoulder. "Boys, this is Darnell, the one who fixed the beast." One biker laughed. "The kid? No way." "Watch him work," Hawk replied. "He's the real deal." And just like that, the crew welcomed him in. No judgment, no fear. Only respect. For the first time in a long time. Darnell felt seen. Sunday evening was quiet. Darnell was back. Home, sitting with his mother on the porch. The sun was low in the sky, casting an orange glow on the small neighborhood. His hands were stained again, not from the garage, but from something better. That day at the biker warehouse had been different from anything he'd ever known. They didn't treat him like a tool. They didn't ask him to prove his worth. They saw it. The moment he touched the first bike and gently adjusted the carburetor, eyes had turned toward him. One of the crew even whispered, "He's got it, man. Real hands." Hawk had been watching. From a distance, arms crossed, face serious. But later he gave a nod, a real nod, not fake, not forced. That small motion told Darnell he was respected. Now, back home, he didn't know what would happen next. He didn't know if he'd be invited again. He didn't ask. All he knew was that, for the first time since he got fired, he didn't feel broken. Suddenly, a loud knock hit the door, not a soft one. 3 heavy thuds. Darnell and his mother both turned their heads at once. It was late. Nobody knocked like that unless something was serious. Darnell stood up, careful but not afraid, and opened the door. Standing there was a man in a worn leather jacket. Another biker, not Hawk, but someone from the same crew. His name was Blaze, and his face had a deep scar across one side. "Darnell," Blaze said, his voice deep but respectful. "We need you." Darnell blinked. "What happened?" Blaze stepped aside. Behind him, a motorcycle sat broken on a flatbed truck. The front tire was twisted. The engine looked burnt. "One of our guys went down hard. He's fine, but the bike's wrecked, and it's special, custom made. Only a few hands can fix her. Hawk said you were one of them." Darnell didn't ask questions. He grabbed his small toolbox and looked at his mother. She gave a small smile. "Go." He hopped in the truck, and they rode through the night to a backlot near the city's edge. There, under a big steel roof, bikers gathered around the broken motorcycle. One of them, named Tank, sat nearby with his arm in a sling. "This was your baby?" Darnell asked. Tank nodded. "She's more than a bike. She's my heart." Darnell looked over the damage. The front fork was twisted, the gas tank dented, and the engine wouldn't even turn. But deep in his gut, he could feel the machine wasn't finished. She wanted to live again. He dropped to his knees and got to work. The others stood in silence. It wasn't just about the fix, it was about trust. And right now, all eyes were on Darnell. 2 hours passed, then 3. He didn't look up. Sweat ran down his face. His fingers moved fast but careful. Tools clicked. Wires were rewired. Sparks flew once. He didn't flinch. Finally, as the clock hit midnight, Darnell stepped back and whispered, "Try now." Tank limped over and hit the starter. At first, nothing. Then, a low growl. Then, a loud roar. The engine came alive like a beast waking from sleep. The crew erupted in cheers. Tank's face lit up. Blaze patted Darnell's back so hard he almost fell. "That's what I'm talking about." Someone shouted. Hawk arrived minutes later, stepping out of a dark truck. He looked at the bike, then at Darnell. "You didn't just fix it," Hawk said. "You brought it back." Darnell shrugged, smiling. She just needed someone to believe in her. Hawk pulled something from his jacket. A patch, black with silver threads. It had the crew's emblem, a roaring engine inside a set of wings. "You're not just a helper anymore," Hawk said. "You're family now." He placed the patch in Darnell's hand. For a moment, Darnell just stared at it. This wasn't just a symbol. It was acceptance. It was respect. The other bikers cheered louder. That night, Darnell didn't sleep. He didn't need to. His mind was full. Not with worries, but with peace. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was a man who had lost everything and found something better, something real. And it all started with one simple act: choosing to help someone when everyone else stayed back. A week passed after Darnell fixed Tank's bike. Life started to feel different. He still woke up early and helped his mom, but now his phone buzzed more often. A message from Blaze, a check-in from Hawk, even a call from Tank just to say, "Thank you." The bikers didn't forget kindness. They treated him like one of their own, but Darnell still felt unsure. He liked working with machines. That part came easy. But this was new. He had never been part of something like this before. A group of men who rode together, protected each other, and lived by loyalty. He wondered, do I really belong? One afternoon, while changing the oil in an old lady's car down the street, he heard the rumble of motorcycles in the distance. Seconds later, 3 bikes pulled up to the curb. It was Blaze, Hawk, and a new face, a woman with blonde hair under a helmet and tattoos covering both arms. She looked tough, but her smile was kind. Hawk stepped forward. "We're not here for repairs," he said with a grin. "We're here with an invitation." Darnell wiped his hands, confused. "Invitation?" "Tomorrow," Hawk said, "we're hosting a ride, something special. Our anniversary ride, when we remember who we are and where we came from. This year we want you to ride with us." Darnell blinked. "Me?" The woman laughed gently. "Yes, you. You earned more than just respect. You earned a place." Darnell looked down. "But I don't have a bike." Blaze tossed him a key. "You do now." Behind them, on a trailer hitched to the back of the last bike, was a beautiful motorcycle, sleek, black with silver flames, and shining under the sun. It wasn't new, but it had been freshly cleaned, tuned, and painted. The seat had a name stitched into the leather. Grease. It was the name the crew had started calling Darnell. A nickname made from love, not insult. He held the key in his hand like it was gold. "You built your name with your hands," Hawk said. "Now ride with it." That night, Darnell couldn't sleep. The key sat beside his bed. His mom peeked in on him a few times, watching him smile to himself. "You look like a boy who just got his first toy," she teased. He chuckled. "It's more than a toy. It's something I didn't think I'd ever have." His mom sat beside him. "You gave help when no one asked you to. You stayed honest when others stayed scared. And now, life is giving back. That's how the world works, baby. Not always fast, but fair when it counts." The next morning, the neighborhood was buzzing. Darnell wore a black jacket the crew had given him. It wasn't patched yet, but it felt like armor. He rolled the bike from the driveway, its engine smooth and low like a whispering storm. Kids ran to the fences. Adults peeked from porches. People who once ignored Darnell now waved with big smiles. Then came the sound, dozens of bikes riding down the road, one by one, loud and proud. Hawk led the line, his eyes on Darnell as they pulled up. "You ready, Grease?" he asked. Darnell nodded. "Let's ride." The whole street watched as Darnell joined the formation. His mother stood near the mailbox, wiping a tear with her apron, waving proudly. The crew rode through town, the sun above them, the wind on their faces. They weren't racing, they were showing strength, unity, and brotherhood. Darnell didn't feel out of place anymore. He felt like he'd finally found the road he was meant to be on. After the ride, they stopped at a park where the crew shared food, laughed, and remembered old stories. Darnell sat quietly, taking it all in. Then, Hawk stood on a wooden bench and called everyone to attention. "This year," Hawk shouted, "we welcome someone new, not because he begged, not because he bought his way in, but because he earned it." He pointed to Darnell. Grease stepped in when others froze. "He fixed what we thought was broken." And more than that, he reminded us what real respect looks like. The crew clapped. Some even whistled. Darnell felt his chest tighten. Not from nerves, from pride. That day, they didn't just give him a ride. They gave him a place to belong. Asterisk. Darnell's life started changing faster than he ever imagined. Just weeks ago, he was working quietly in a small garage, fixing broken engines for minimum pay and trying to stay out of trouble. Now he had a name, Grease, a bike, and a crew that treated him like a brother. Every morning, he still woke up early. But instead of going to a shop where he was invisible, he now rode to Iron Brotherhood Customs, the private biker garage run by Hawk and his crew. It wasn't like any normal garage. It was cleaner, louder, and filled with powerful bikes that looked like they came from movies. Some customers were rich collectors, others were just loyal riders. But all came to this shop because they trusted the hands behind the tools. And now, one of those hands was Darnell's. He quickly became the favorite. Customers would ask for him by name. That black kid, Grease, is he here? Only he touches. My ride, got it? Word spread. Not just about his skill, but his heart. He didn't just fix bikes. He listened to the machine. He respected every part like it mattered. It didn't take long before Hawk offered him a small paycheck, more than what Rick ever paid him, along with free meals and gas. Blaze taught him how to polish chrome the right way. Tank showed him how to rebuild custom exhaust pipes. The tattooed woman, nicknamed Raven, helped him design decals using fire, wings, and gears. They didn't treat him like a helper. They treated him like one of them. And Darnell, for the first time in his life, felt like he had a family. Back at home, his mother saw the change in him. He smiled more. He spoke with confidence. He even started saving money in a jar labeled "My Own Shop" one day. One afternoon, while Darnell was working under a bike with Raven, a small boy walked into the garage. He was skinny, maybe 12 or 13, and looked nervous. "Excuse me," the boy said quietly. Raven looked up. "Hey kid, you lost?" The boy shook his head. "I was told maybe I could learn here. My uncle said you all teach kids sometimes." Hawk stepped out of the office. He studied the boy for a second. "Who's your uncle?" "Pablo. He rides with the East Side Riders." Hawk nodded slowly. "You come with manners, I'll give you a chance." Darnell stood and wiped his hands. "I can show him some basics." And just like that, Darnell became a teacher too. He showed the boy how to hold a wrench properly, how to listen to an engine's rhythm, and how to stay calm when something didn't work right. The boy watched him like a little brother watches an older one. "You're really good," the boy whispered. Darnell smiled. "I just don't give up on anything." Days turned into weeks. The shop was always busy, and Darnell was now part of every big project. The others trusted his eyes and his hands. Even Blaze, who rarely smiled, slapped him on the back and said, "You're the real deal, Grease." One evening, the whole crew gathered around a bonfire behind the warehouse. Music played from a speaker. Meat grilled on an open flame. Hawk stood up, drink in hand, and said, "I've seen a lot of mechanics in my time, but none with heart like this kid." He raised his bottle toward Darnell. "To Grease, our brother," the others cheered. Darnell's eyes watered a little, but he blinked fast so no one would notice. He raised his bottle too. That night, as the fire burned low and laughter echoed in the dark, Darnell realized something important. He had lost a job, but found a life. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was a brother, a teacher, a writer, and most of all, a man respected. Darnell never thought his story would go beyond the garage gates. He was just doing what he loved, fixing bikes, helping others, and staying humble. But the world has a strange way of shining light on people who least expect it. One afternoon, a woman in a suit showed up at the shop. She was holding a camera and wearing a press badge. Her name was Karen Torres, A local reporter from a popular community news station. "I've heard about a young man named Grease," she said, smiling. "Mind if I ask a few questions?" Hawk stepped forward. "Depends. What's it for?" "We run a segment on local heroes. I heard your crew gave a second chance to a young black mechanic who got fired for doing the right thing. And now he's teaching kids and building custom bikes. That's the kind of story people need to hear." Darnell was in the back, polishing a set of chrome handlebars. He looked up when Hawk called his name. "You all right with this?" Hawk asked. Darnell hesitated. He never liked being in the spotlight. But then he thought about the kid he taught. Last week, about his mom smiling in the kitchen. About how far he had come. He nodded. "Yeah, I guess people should know the truth." Karen sat with him outside under the shade of an old tree. The crew gave them space. She asked simple questions. "What happened the day you got fired? What went through your mind when the biker came back to your house? What does this crew mean to you now?" Darnell didn't use big words. He just told the truth. "I was just doing my job," he said. "I didn't care who he was or what patch he wore. His bike needed help, so I helped." He talked about Rick firing him, about how no one spoke up for him. And then, how the same biker he helped came back, not with anger, but with an opportunity. Karen listened closely. She didn't interrupt. She knew she was hearing something rare, not just a story, but a moment of quiet power. The segment aired 2 days later, From Fired to Family. How one mechanic found respect where he least expected it. That was the title. The story spread like wildfire. People shared it online, commenting like, "The world needs more men like this." Darnell is the definition of grace and strength. "I hope Rick sees this and feels ashamed." It wasn't just locals. People from other cities, even other states, sent messages. A woman from Texas messaged the shop's page. "My son wants to be a mechanic now, because of Grease." Hawk printed that message and hung it on the garage wall. The shop got busier. Customers came in saying, "I saw the video. Is he here?" They brought their bikes, their sons, even their daughters, hoping to meet the young man who changed lives. With a wrench and a calm heart. But not everyone was happy. One morning, Rick, the man who fired Darnell, showed up outside the Iron Brotherhood garage. He wore a clean buttoned shirt, but his face looked tight, nervous. Hawk stepped out first. Then Blaze. Then Raven. Darnell came last, wiping his hands with a rag. Rick looked at him. "I didn't know it'd blow up like this," he said. "Maybe. I overreacted that day." Darnell stayed silent. Rick cleared his throat. "Listen. If you ever want your job back, I could." Hawk laughed, loud and sharp. "You had your chance. He's got something better now." Rick looked around and realized what he had lost. Not just a worker, but a good man. He turned and walked away. That evening the crew threw a small party in the back lot. They grilled burgers, played music, and raised a toast to Darnell. "You're not just one of us," Raven said. "You're the reason people believe in us again." Darnell smiled. "I didn't plan any of this," he said quietly. "No," Hawk replied. "But you earned every bit of it." As the sun set and the fire crackled nearby, Darnell looked around at the faces that once felt like strangers, now family. He never shouted to be heard. He never begged to be noticed. He just did the right thing. And somehow, the whole world listened. The sky was soft orange that morning. The roads were dry, the wind light. It was the perfect day for a ride. Darnell stood in front of the shop, tightening his gloves, his black jacket fitting like it was made just for him. His motorcycle, the one they gave him, with grease stitched on the seat, stood polished and ready. Today wasn't a work day. Today was a memorial ride. Each year, the Iron Brotherhood rode through town in silence to honor the bikers they had lost. Friends, family, brothers. It was a tradition of respect. But this year, Hawk had asked Darnell to lead it. At first, Darnell thought he was joking. Me? He had asked, surprised. You, Hawk said. You earned this front seat. Time to ride like the leader you already are. Darnell's heart beat faster, but he didn't argue. He knew this was more than just a ride. It was a message. As the engines rumbled to life one by one, people started coming out of their homes. They lined the streets. They waved, some clapped, some even held signs that read, "Ride safe, Greece. We're proud of you. Second chances matter." Darnell's mother stood near the edge of the street, holding her phone up with tears in her eyes and pride on her face. She wasn't just watching her son ride. She was watching him shine. Darnell nodded to the crew behind him. Blaze gave a thumbs up. Raven revved her bike. Hawk, at the very back, watched with a grin hidden beneath his dark sunglasses, and then they rode down the main street, through the old market, past the school where Darnell once sat in the back row, silent and unseen. Now everyone saw him. The boy who once cleaned up the shop before anyone arrived was now leading a brotherhood down the city's heart. They didn't ride fast. They didn't need to. The slow thunder of engines rolling side by side was powerful enough. It wasn't just about bikes anymore. It was about something bigger, respect, redemption, rising above. Halfway through the ride, the crew stopped at a quiet hilltop. It overlooked the whole town. They parked in a wide circle. No one spoke for a while. They just looked at the view and remembered those who were no longer with them. Then Hawk stepped forward. "This ride used to be just for the fallen," he said. "But now it's also for the ones who rise, even when the world tries to push them down." He turned to Darnell. "You didn't just fix bikes, kid. You fixed people's trust. You showed what real character looks like." One by one, the crew clapped. Even some of the toughest bikers wiped their eyes quietly. Darnell didn't know what to say. So he said the only thing that felt real. "I didn't ask for this," he said. "But I'm thankful for it. I didn't ride today to prove anything. I rode because I know who I am now." He looked at his hands, still scarred, still stained, but now strong with pride. "I'm not just a mechanic anymore," he added. "I'm someone who belongs." As they headed back down the hill, the sun high in the sky, Darnell rode at the front once more. The wind hit his face, but he didn't flinch. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. Behind him were brothers and sisters who believed in him. Ahead of him was a future filled with roads he hadn't yet traveled. And deep inside, Darnell knew one thing for sure. Being fired didn't break him, it revealed him. It showed the world who he really was. And what happened next? Well, it shocked everyone. Because the world had underestimated the quiet young man with grease-stained hands. But now, they'd never forget him.